You were asked the question, which female inspired you, which left a bit of a blank. But can I just ask, who inspired you and what inspiration took you through this journey and path that you've been on?
Well, I guess the person that most inspired me was the Buddha. When I first read about the Buddha when I was 18, I immediately knew, first of all, that I was a Buddhist. I just hadn't known it. But I felt an incredible gratitude to the Buddha that he showed such a clear path. And I remember lying in bed and just crying tears of devotion, thinking how grateful I was. Finally, somebody showed a clear, doable path to enlightenment. And so I was deeply grateful to the Buddha. And the second person I was deeply, deeply, deeply grateful to, of course, was my root guru, Kamta Rinpoche, who I met on my 21st birthday. And he was the one that kept me going, you know, as far as here I still am, you know. It's just, he was the Buddha in person.
Another question?
Thank you, Jetsunma. Wonderful to see you again. You mentioned earlier about loving your children without too much attachment. You mentioned earlier about loving children without too much attachment.
It can.
Can you just give some tips on that, please?
Well, I mean, the Buddha said when he was talking about loving kindness, just as a mother loves her child, her only child, so we must develop this feeling for all sentient beings. So the point is you start that, right, how much you love your child, but you don't stop there. You recognize that each being is equally precious and using that as your, you know, your whatever, you know, the key, you can see
like a
that
measure
feeling.
of a measure of it.
You start to extend it out further and further until you include all beings as much as you can. So, of course, that your child is the one you have responsibility for. But as somebody said, what's his name? Linig, yeah. He has this lovely thing about what is real love. And one of his examples is like you're holding a day-old chick, a little chick, and you should hold your chick very gently so it can move and it can fly. If you go like that, no chick. Right? And this is what most people do. You know, they have their child and they want to hold on to their child. This is my child. And the child becomes a projection of themselves. And then the child is stifled. They can't just hold it lightly with love and cherishing, but recognizing that the child is its own being and it's not an extension of oneself. But how to love is shown with a mother and a child, as the Buddha said, because it shows this fearless love, you know, which is beyond our love for ourselves. You know, it's the one love where, you know, the baby is there, the child is there, you would do anything to help that child with love. And so that gives us the example, that selfless love, which then has to radiate out and embrace all beings.
I know if I had a child, I'd want it to be intensely bloody grateful. For all the sacrifice.
But they never are.
They never are.
They never
No,
are.
I don't have any. That's
They only blame you for everything.
Yeah. Yes?
Jetsunma, Lynn from Canberra. Lynn from Canberra. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, my perfect teacher. Going back to what you said before about a focused path and the Buddha providing that for you, I find that many of us in the West who could be such a potential force for change get wonderful teachings like we have from you, like I do every time you come, and then I get sort of lost so that the path isn't focused. We get lost. So if we do want to change, and we do want to change things, and we want to do good, it's hard. I mean, there's so many people walking around with fancy mudras, have malas on, and they know all the hand mudras, and then they're mean to a dog or something. I mean, I feel there's so many of us that aren't focused, and I have no idea after 30 years how to focus.
Keep it simple. And that's the essence, especially if you're on a Tibetan path, because it can be endlessly complex. And as you say, you get caught up in all the stuff which doesn't matter. And you miss the vital point. And the vital point really is to develop awareness throughout the day as much as you can. Just say to yourself, be aware. And then in that moment, click, you're aware. Then you lose it. But then say again, be aware and be kind. What Ajahn Brahm calls kindfulness, right? It's a beautiful word. Kindfulness. Develop kindfulness.
That is beautiful.
Do we really need that one-on-one relationship?
No. It's helpful because, like with any skill, if you have a skilled guide to help you, that obviously is much more beneficial because they tell you not only how to do something, but how not to do something, right? Which we can't always see ourselves because we don't have the expertise. So definitely, and it inspires us if it's a genuine guide. But there is so much out there now. In the good old days, most people, when they're educated, they couldn't just sit down, curl up and read a book and understand it, right? So they needed one-on-one people teaching them because by themselves they couldn't manage it. But nowadays we have so many books, too many. And we have so much, as I say, we have the internet, you have all these YouTube, fantastic teachings. You can do a whole retreat just having somebody's podcast. I mean, they do a podcast of a whole week or a month retreat, and you can download it, session by session, if you want. So yes, of course, to have a personal teacher is very, very best, but it doesn't mean that in the meantime we should think, I can't practice, I'm waiting for the guru to appear. Because also, so much of these things, like learning how to tame the mind, learning how to train the mind, at least that much we can do for ourselves. The teacher cannot do it for us. I mean, the Buddha himself said, Buddhas only show the way. They can't tread the path for you. So, I mean, at least learn how to do ABC and handwriting, right? Because when you're going to meet the professor, the PhD, he doesn't have to teach you how to, read the cat's out on the mat. Right? You can do that for yourself. You understand what I'm saying? There's so much now which we can do for ourselves. Join a group. Everybody meditate together. But most important is to really take the essential points of the Dharma and use your whole life to embody those. No good talking about compassion, patience, generosity, if we don't incorporate it into our daily life and our daily, people that we are interacting with. Isn't it? We can all learn that.
I asked the Dalai Lama once what was the difference between feeling sorry for things and compassion, and he said compassion has action.
Compassion is what?
Action. Compassion has action.
Of course. I mean, all the time we have opportunities for practice. I mean, there's not, when you're in retreat, then you're going to practice, and the rest of the day it's just worldly activity. Everything. If we really want to transform our mind and our heart, we have to do it as much as we possibly can under all circumstances. And if we fall down, fair enough, we stand up again. It doesn't matter. I mean, at least we're making our life into our Dharma practice as much as possible. And however much we fail, never mind, so what? We learn from that, we'll try again.
Another question? Yeah, we've got just here.
Hi, thanks for your, coming to Australia all the way here and for your teachings. A comment and a question. Just talked about killing and the Buddhist sense of humour. I heard the Dalai Lama interview about the problems in Israel and Palestine and what he thought the solution was. And he thought they'd have to kill each other until they'd had enough, and kind of giggled. And that was his that was his answer to the solution of between Israel and Palestine. But my question was, I've read your book, but I can't remember this bit. When you were there, did you have teachings with you that you were reading, or was it just your mind being still that gave you answers?
When I was in retreat?
Yeah, in the cave.
Huh?
Say in the cave?
Yeah, I had Pecha.
Okay.
At that time I only read Tibetan. Seems like another lifetime. So yeah, I had the Pechas, especially Pecha. Pecha is the Tibetan books, which dealt with the practices I was doing, commentaries, and biographies like Milarepa, Rechungpa, Jigme Lingpa, etc. What else did I read? Books on the three vows and that type of stuff.
And did you have...
Not philosophy, sorry.
Did you have a physical feeling of realisations, or was it just...
Oh, I never had anything, but I mean, it was nice to have the opportunity to sit.
Any more questions? Up the back, yeah. We've got the... Oh, pass the baton up.
Jetsunma, thank you for your teachings. When you talk about the nuns needing help, our help in the West, can you help us help them? Because I think as a lay woman, I need to learn how to offer my help. I remember once at a teaching, there were nuns from Chenrezig. One nun was carrying a bag. I said, "Can I help you?" She said, no, I'm fine. I said, "Can I help you?" She said, no. And then I said, "Anila, please, with your compassion for me, may I help you?" Then she gave me her bag. So my comment is, can you help us?
You know,
can you help us?
Their own needs. It's like, as I say, they feel disloyal somehow to something.
But I think as a lay person, I need to learn how to offer.
Yes. Well, you just go up and you know, if you're going to offer money, for example, or some kind of gift, then you say, "Please give me the privilege of offering this to you," and just hand it to them and shut up if they say anything. And they'll probably be so astonished that anybody's offering us anything that...
Do you think it's vestiges of Western things that give them that shame, or is that the same in Tibet for the
Well,
Tibetan
Tibetans
nuns?
are happy to receive anything. They consider it their due. No, I think it's because they have not received much input of appreciation. They don't appreciate themselves.
They don't feel worthy.
And so therefore they feel embarrassed when somebody shows them respect, because they think of all the things which are not right and they don't think they're worthy of respect. And not recognizing what they're not offering it to you, they're offering it to the robe. And what the robe represents. The robe represents the Sangha, because it's a monastic robe. Therefore it represents the Dharma. And it represents the Buddha. Because this is, you know, this order was started by the Buddha himself, and he himself wore a robe. And so you're representing the three jewels. And that's what people are offering to. It's not you as a person, it's you as a representative of something which they have respect for. So to say, "Oh, no, don't give to me, is disrespecting the three jewels and disrespecting the person who is making the offering. So really they should get over their hang-ups.